you.
There he is, ladies.
You're like, when is this going to end? I can see your face. Like, can we get to this?
I'm exhausted.
He's exhausted just from
and those are all things that teachers and friends and family told me I was wasting my time doing.
Yes. George, you know what's funny? When I was putting that together, I had like 10 pictures. It was like 40 seconds. And then I just keep finding these great shots. I'm like, oh, I got to put George in. I got to put Prince in. You're sitting with Prince on the couch. But it's just, listen, man, you, first of all, we love you for coming on. We know that you have an insanely busy schedule, and that's not lost on us, the favor you're doing by coming on this show. We absolutely love you for it, pal.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
Yeah, no, it's great. And George, of course, Suk, we talk about it all the time. You know, we just lost Jerry Springer, who we were talking about, one of our first celebrities. I know George loved Jerry. Jerry was I think the first celebrity who came on. When we were doing Zoom shows, George was nice enough to also come on from a golf game. He spoke to us for like 40 minutes, so generous with the time, George. And literally your appearance on this show, even just while we were doing it gave us credibility. It catapulted the show because George, 400 shows later,
yes,
and 800 celebrities and performers. I always say it's because of you and Jerry Springer doing us the favor that it just snowballed into, oh, well, George Lopez was on? Sure, I'll be on. And again, we thank you, bud, for all the love you've given us.
You know, I met Jerry Springer in the 1988 at the conservatory in Kentucky. He was the mayor of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think he had been ousted. And he would come and see us do stand-up. I was like not even 30. And then, later on we saw each other at an event. And I said, hey, man, you remember me from the conservatory? And then I had the show. And when we had the first show, I always had fun stunt casting people. There was a bunch of people that meant a lot to me growing up. And I reached out to Jerry, and he played my mom's boyfriend, Wayne. I love the name I gave him, Wayne.
Wayne. And this is the original George Lopez show.
Yeah. And Jerry he's like, I'm not an actor. And I said, just be Wayne. Like, just be the guy from Kentucky.
I love it. And listen, you know what? Of course, we'll talk about Lopez versus Lopez. But while we're on the original George Lopez show, Suk, did you know, and George, tell me if this is true, because not everything you read is true. You were doing your stand-up. You were a young guy. And Sandra Bullock kind of discovered you and said, hey, I want to do a sitcom with you.
We met, and she came to see me at an improv here in Los Angeles, and then she came backstage and she said, oh my God, I think I need to reevaluate my idea for this show, because my idea has the kids as central figures. But I think after watching your 45-minute set, your life is like a train wreck you can't turn away from. We're losing the kids, and we're going to make you and the mom and the wife the central. And, the Phil Jackson triangle, not even about team, just the philosophy of the triangle.
The triangle.
Always having threes. I did that on the show. Is me, my mom, and my wife. Me, my wife, and my friends. Me, my wife, and the kids. Right. Me, my wife, and my bosses. And the triangle works in that comedy.
Listen, so George, I can't help but look at all the guitars in the back. I mean, are they given to you from people, or what were they? What are they? What do they mean to you?
Eddie Van Halen and I were very good friends. So there's a.
I was going to say, is that Van Halen's guitar back there?
This is one of only 4 right here.
One of 4? Oh my gosh, this is pretty incredible.
He's got the Zeppelin poster.
Oh man.
This is one of.
Oh wow.
It's a stealth. And then here, this is the day you gave it to me.
I love the black on that.
Yeah,
right?
I know. It's called the stealth. You can tell why it's called the stealth. Oh man, that's incredible! Incredible.
He gave it to my son, and then my son gave it to me.
Oh, that's
I look like I'm 20 years old. But this is
incredible. Incredible.
But you don't.
Later on, I got to figure out how to get it back up there now.
And he really did have a good golf game. Were you the better golfer, or was he the better golfer?
No, I kicked his ass every time. Once he found out what the PXG, I remember he said he came over to me and he put his hand in my chest and he goes, "Hey, those clubs are like $5,000." I said, "Yeah, man, you want to play golf? Play with the best clubs." He goes, "But I didn't get you anything." I said, "Man, I I didn't get you these clubs so you get me something. He's like, all right, I'm going to get you something. I said, oh, is it going to be a guitar? Let me guess. And what made it special is that it's one of the 4 black stealths.
One of the 4 black stealths. And may he rest in peace too. What
and
a
George,
I miss him every day. I mean, I'm not sure what the whole thing of this world is, if the next place is better, but when someone goes, if you spent every second with them, it still wouldn't be enough time, so I'm not sure how we look at all of that.
It's so well said. I mean, yeah. I really do think about that all the time because, time, it never feels like it's enough with the people that you love. It just never feels like it fills your tank completely. And
then you can go back to your childhood where all your aunts were alive, all your uncles were alive, all your friends were in their houses, and all parents were alive. And it's almost like in that particular moment, like whatever your world is, it's perfect because no one has been torn up by a sudden death, by getting a call in the middle of the night.
Right.
And it's in that place that later on you realize you should have, you don't know that moment because it hasn't happened. And then later on you think, man, we could just go back to when everybody was around. I mean,
there.
Such a Benjamin Button idea of going backwards.
Yeah.
Now we're
there you go, George. We take you backwards.
George, when you look at this picture, did you ever imagine that the life that you would live, or did you ever think about the life that you would create, not only for yourself but your kids, and talk about changing generations? Oh my God, look at how handsome you are.
Very
I like that.
Nice feathery hair.
I like that.
I had the best hair. My grandfather hated that haircut. I spent $15 on it. And
you still do, man. You still got a great head of hair, and look at you.
He snapped my hair dryer. I'm glad because it was a 75,000 watts back there. Nobody knew the wattage.
George, what position were you playing when you were playing ball back when you were a kid?
I played third base. I pitched, and then when they got mad at me, I played right field.
right. Everybody goes in the right field when you're that age.
And I was a better summer player. Like it was hot out here, and I had great summers, and then we would play winter league, and then it was drizzling, and we'd still play. And I was a terrible cold weather player. And then I got one letter from the Cincinnati Reds, and then I didn't sell all my car wash tickets that our coach, God rest his Martin, was trying to raise money instead of by having a car wash. I'm like, you really think Latinos washing cars is the best idea? And he tried to make me pay for the tickets, and then he tore my letter up from the Reds.
Oh man,
no Reds for you.
No Reds.
Unbelievable. Well, listen, it turned out pretty good, George. You're doing okay, I think.
It's a very interesting life. Like it's a little bit of Forrest Gumpish. I mean, last Monday. I mean, I've always loved music, and I believe it's because I spent so much time alone that the radio was around. It wasn't very loud. I never listened to anything loud. And the idea that Smokey Robinson and Robbie Krieger and Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains and Joe Pesci and Ben Balder. All I did was Jack Nicholson impressions in front of Joe Pesci the whole day.
Oh my God, I know. I saw a picture the other day. I love when you have these shots with some of your friends. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
Because it is just you look at these shots and it's just a who's who of people in the industry. There you go. There's Cedric, right? And but
it's really more of a who's kissing ass.
And then you got this one right here. I mean, look at this. Look at this table right there. Look at that's just 4 badasses right there at one table. Look at Pesci, right? Pesci looks like he looks like he's always ready to put out a hit on somebody.
And everybody's hat game is really strong right there.
Oh yeah.
I love that, man.
And Pesci and I are having martinis every year. It's become a tradition where we have martinis.
Is that at the golf outing at the end of it or something like that? Is that okay?
Yeah, right. Edward James Olmos is in there.
Yeah, we love him.
Andy Garcia, so great.
Love him.
And again, George, you look at your upbringing and how you were raised by your grandmother, right? And like you said, this is the typical American dream story, man, where you didn't have your parents around. You were raised by your grandmother. Mm-hmm. And here you are right now. I mean, Hollywood Walk of Fame, sitcoms, stand-up. You're on Fallon. I know you hosted, you guest hosted Kimmel. During the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's just, sometimes you
And
probably, your own show, Lopez Tonight. And I would assume, are there times where you still look back at where you came from, man, and you just go, holy cow, I can't believe all the things that I was able to accomplish in this lifetime.
A friend of mine drove at 14 years old. He worked, his father and his family worked at General Motors, and he drove at 14. I mean, the idea of that is crazy. And then we would drive to Hollywood Boulevard every day at 10 o'clock and go get coffee and donuts and walk up and down Hollywood Boulevard. And I would see George Burns, George Hamilton, and I would stay there. And those guys were further down the block. And I would imagine that the George Burns star said George Lopez.
Yep.
Wow.
You don't ever know. And that day right there was
surreal.
Very. And then all my friends were there. I lost the guy who I didn't realize until he passed away, Ernie Ariano, that all of the things that I do today were his ideas and not mine. He said, "Hey, let's go do comedy." Turned me on to Richard Pryor, turned me on to golf, and he turned me on to guitars. And none of those ideas were mine.
Well, George? Do you actually play the guitar?
I use it to. I'm dyslexic, so I use it to remember my lines. I put the script in front of me, and I'll say, "How can you do that?" Because you can't. But then I just do it back and forth.